Hello everyone, I'm going to talk about the second boss in the Heart of Fear, which is Blade Lord Tyak. This fight is a 2-tank fight and it'll be 2 to 3 healers depending on how we feel. So I'm going to show you the room, so everyone knows better standing. Right, this is a kind of layout of the room, and this is where we come in. We've got an alcove here and an alcove here. And we're going to start tanking here, when this is where the boss will be standing on the back alcove. And the ranged DPS will be standing around here, 10 yards apart. Now the first ability I'm going to talk about is Intensify. There's nothing we can do about it, just that every minute in phase 1 he will be stacking 5% damage buff on himself. Right, the next thing is the tank swap. Every time a tank gets overwhelming assault, he will have to swap, and it lasts for 45 seconds, so throughout the fight you have to carry on doing this. The overwhelming assault will make the damage of the next overwhelming assault higher, so we want to make sure that we're swapping. The next move I want to go on about is Unseen Strike. This is where anyone in the raid, any raid member will get a mark on top of their head, and everyone wants to run to the tank. The tanks will be marked, and when we run to the tank, we'll all be standing as a group. The person that's marked needs to get to tank ASAP, as he will be stunned, and after 3 seconds, and then 2 seconds later, the strike will happen. The boss will disappear when he goes to do Unseen Strike, and you'll see a faint outline of him. We'll have to make sure we stand in front of him, so that we get the cone damage and we share it, because there's a possibility that we can miss it if we're not standing in the right position. The next ability I want to talk about is Wind Step, and this is where he applies to the ranged bleed effect. This is what we want to make sure we're standing 10 yards apart, so that we don't pass the bleed effect along, and it does last for 30 seconds, so make sure when you're moving that you don't go near someone to pass the bleed effect. The next move I want to talk about is Temper Slash. This is where he slashes a random ranged raid member, and this is what applies to Tornado. Now these do very high damage, so that's why we're also standing 10 yards apart around here, and when you have a tornado, you'll move to a different empty spot. Now this means as well that we will be keeping the tornadoes on the edge, which means it won't be affecting us when we have to move for the Unseen Strikes and other abilities. Once we've filled this alcove here, we will move down to this alcove, have the boss in the middle, and we'll mimic it by having everyone stand around the edge, and then of course standing away from each other. The range will be so that Wind Step, the bleed effect doesn't spread. Make sure the tornadoes are along the edge here. When we run out of space here, we'll move to the corridor, as you can see here, tanking in the middle, and we'll use the sides of the room here to put the tornadoes so that they're just not in the way at all. Throughout this phase, it lasts until 20%. Of course, you've got to remember, group up on the tank when an Unseen Strike's happening. Spread out ranged so that Wind Step doesn't spread. Stand in your spots so the tornadoes aren't everywhere, and tanks need to remember to swap. We will be working up here. By the time we get to the end of the corridor, we should be hitting phase 2. So we shouldn't be getting bombarded and trapped here. We should be hitting phase 2 by then. Right then, now there's phase 2, which happens at 20%. He'll drag us all into the middle, and then throw us one of the ends of the corridors. And here demonstrates what we need to do. This is us here, and there'll be 3 lanes of tornadoes, and we need to dodge them and go around dodging them coming down randomly and get to the boss. Now he won't melee in this phase, so the first person that gets to him needs to DPS him, but we do need to have a lot of practice at this, and everyone needs to be good, because we don't want healers being stuck back here and all the DPS being stuck back there, because they'll die. And at 10% he will also throw us to another end of the corridor, and we will have to do this again. So the tornadoes will cause a lot of damage and they will kill us, so we want to make sure that we're avoiding them. They're quite clear, so they are avoidable. In this phase as well, there is a softening rage. The raid will be taking nature damage, and also Intensified goes from being every 1 minute to every 10 seconds. So we do want to be getting through this phase ASAP, which means people just want to be shooting up, getting to the boss, kicking his ass, and then doing it again, and then there we get our loot. So that's it for this fight really. It's a lot to remember in the first phase, and then just getting the technique of the tornadoes in the second phase. So that's it, and thank you. Hope that's been helpful.